What's up YouTube? It's Amy at Chesapeake Homestead, and we are back this week to start looking at our grocery list and our sun maps and merging that information together to figure out what we're going to grow and where we're going to grow it. You're not going to want to miss it. So we have had a few really nice days here, and I'm definitely getting spring fever. I just want to get outside and start planting all the things, but I have a few more weeks until my last frost date, so I need to wait before a lot of my items go out. In the meantime, let's start figuring out how we can use the sun maps that we developed a couple weeks ago. If you're just joining us, I'm going to set up a link here so that you can go back and reference the sun map video. But in that video, I encouraged viewers to look at their sun and shade and how that changes 4 times a day throughout the course of the day. So we can use those sun maps now to identify 2 types of areas. The first area is going to be your full sun area. This is going to be the areas in your potential growing area, patios included, that get at least 6 to 8 hours of sun and even more than that. Those areas are going to be called your full sun areas. The areas that are getting 4 hours, maybe 6 hours of sun or somewhere in between are going to be called your partly sunny or partly shady areas. Those are areas that get less sunlight but still get some sun. The areas that we're really not going to talk about is going to be your shade areas. That's going to be anything that gets less than 4 hours of sunlight. For edible plants, sunlight is a huge factor, and any areas that get less than 4 hours of sunlight are not going to be really good options for growing your own food. So take your sun map and lay it out. Start marking out and finding which areas got 4 to 6 hours of sun and which areas got over 6 to 8 hours of sun. One thing to keep in mind with sun maps is that over the course of the year, the angle of the sun as the earth rotates around it changes. So in February, the sun is going to be much lower on the horizon, at least for us. It's much lower on the horizon than, say, June and July. Now, for a lot of things, this isn't going to make a huge difference, but it is going to impact how your shadows lay and how your shade lays. So I would encourage you that once we get into mid-April, maybe even May, just to take a day and just kind of glance over the course of that day. Have your sun or shade areas changed? And if they have, you should make note of that. It could give you more sun for the better that will make growing things a viable option, or it may increase the shadows that are cast, which might reduce the amount of sunlight you have. Now that we've talked about how to look at your sun maps, now we need to think about that grocery list, the things that you're buying and using most frequently. So grab that list, and as I go through what items fall in a full sun or what items fall in a full shade, you can make notes on your list so that you can then begin to integrate which plants would go well in which areas. One of the most important factors in growing something successfully is understanding the sun requirements. Edible plants especially require sun to grow healthy and produce fruit. That can range from a part shade mix of 4 to 6 hours of sun up to a full sun requirement that could be 6, 8, or even more hours of sunlight each day in order to be a healthy plant. Let's dive into what each of those entail. Full sun, meaning at least 6 to 8 hours of sunlight. We're talking basil, beans, broccoli, cabbage, celery, chives, dill, eggplant. If you're looking at eggplant, put it in the sunniest spot in your garden. Garlic, leeks, melons, okra, oregano, parsnip, peas, peppers, potatoes, strawberries, summer squash, and tomatoes. All of these plants need at least 6 to 8, maybe even more hours of sunlight in order to grow nice, healthy fruit for you to consume. In terms of the part shade to full sun, a lot of these items will tolerate some shade. So that's why it is part shade to full sun. They are wanting at least 4 hours of sunlight. That's your beets, bok choy, carrots, cauliflower, cilantro, collards, cucumbers, lettuce, kale, mint, parsley, squash, radish, spinach, and Swiss chard. Now these lists are not all encompassing. There are a lot of edibles that I have not included on here, but most of the things that you might be thinking about growing are going to fall on that list. Now that you've got your sun map and what that means in terms of full sun or part shade, and you've seen your grocery list, you can start to look through and see which items I can grow because I have the sunlight to grow them. Grow the things that will do well in the light that you have. If you are not getting that 6 hours of sunlight, I don't really recommend doing tomatoes. Take your grocery list, mark off each of the items, whether they require full sun or part shade, and take an honest look at your sun map and figure out what sunlight your growing area has. To really be successful at growing something, you want to make sure that you put the right plant in the right location. If you don't get the required sunlight, you're not going to get a plant to set fruit. You're not going to get the growth and the health that you really want. This is an area that I would not skimp or fudge on, really. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you so much for watching through this video and coming along this growing journey with me. We are getting so close to planting season. I can't wait. If you haven't done so already, make sure that you like and subscribe and ring that bell so that you can be notified of when our next video gets loaded. And if there's somebody out there that you think would enjoy this content, make sure you share it. Until next time, I'll see you later.